Hey, it's great to be back, Ben Austin. Find your home in Portugal. How's it going? You need to unmute, Ben. It's been a long time since we've done this, so a bit rusty, huh?
It has been a while. Yes. What happened to our intro there? Usually we got a bit of music, set the mood. No,
there was music. I don't know what. Maybe your mute button deprived you of that pleasure.
Probably.
Great to be back. It's taken us a while to get into our rhythm here for 2026, and we've got a great guest who can tell us all about how the real estate industry is looking here in Portugal for the year ahead. He's a big hitter in the real estate industry here in Portugal. It's Ayres Neto of the Agency. So delighted to be chatting with Ayres in just a little while. After a bit of industry news, Ben, I think the big news here in Portugal tonight is that we've got two storms overlapping, I think, and it's going to be quite a stormy evening, not like the picture behind me this evening. What have you heard about the incoming storm for tonight?
I've heard bad weather. Hopefully it's not going to affect our broadcast too much as well. But to combat the bad weather, I've given up going to our weekly drinks report. Oh, it's a bit blurry, that. But I've switched
to already blurry.
Yeah.
Excellent. What a brilliant visual effect. How is that red wine this evening?
Exactly.
Or do you need not ask?
I've got a Stark Alentejo wine with me tonight to help combat the cold weather and the cold vibes. I've given up on trying to lie to myself saying that it's nice weather with white wines. That just doesn't work.
Right. No.
And how about yourself? Have you got anything in your corner over
there?
Well,
it's I understand the winds might get up to 140 kilometers per hour this evening. In case you're looking at Portugal as a place to live, this is very unusual. It can get cold and wet in the winter and a little bit windy, but it's quite exceptional tonight with Depression Ingrid giving way to Joseph, I think, and then another overlapping storm tonight. And we're consoling ourselves with the fact that it's International Port Wine Day across the world. And I've got a beautiful, I know that our friend Hugh at Minola is a big port fan. So I'm having some of the Minola product this evening, a little bit of fortified wine here in celebration of International Port Wine Day across the world. So well done, all you port producers in Portugal. An amazing industry that's been going pretty well, with a lot of British support, I think, for a few centuries now. Let's get into the industry news, shall we? Before we talk to Ayres tonight.
Yes, right. So exciting industry news. Well, exciting for me, at least. I don't know about anyone else. If you were an avid watcher of the show, you remember a couple months ago, we were talking about a fiscal housing package that the government was trying to pass. Well, it has just reached its parliamentary stage. It's gone through Parliament. They've debated it. They're approving all the laws. This includes the reduced VAT for building, lowering IRS for rental income, and also adjustments to IMT as well for foreign buyers. There was a bit of a misconception going about that it would affect immigrants coming into Portugal. That is not true. I looked into this myself. It's only people who reside abroad will have a higher IMT charge. IMT being almost like a stamp. It's not quite a stamp duty, almost like a stamp duty you have here in Portugal at higher cost. So that's now for its parliamentary stage. Just to give people some context as well, whenever you get a law made here in Portugal, it has a stage where it goes through Parliament. After that, it's under deliberation with groups of whose industries it might affect. So that would be the next stage for this. And then it has to be approved by the president. So we are kind of in the first third of getting this housing package sorted.
Very good, very good. Okay, so encouraging, but a little bit of a reflection of the pace of Portuguese politics and how law is made here. And of course, Portugal a little bit consumed by the presidential election race. We're going to the runoff on the 8th of February, where Senor Seguro and Ventura will face each other in quite an extraordinary election, really, with a socialist leader perhaps back in popularity, and of course the head of Chega as well, his competitor in that race, and we'll know but come the 9th of February what the result has been, and that's really dominating political news at the moment. Yes, it's quite an extraordinary time here politically.
That and football.
Football, did you say?
That and football, yes. Whenever I turn on SIC or whenever I turn on RTP to do my little research for the week, I find that I'll spend up to an hour consuming football content as well, which is funny. I'm not, admittedly, I probably shouldn't be saying this thing because I live in Portugal. I'm not a massive fan of football. A bit more of a rugby person myself, but still. Right. Okay. I end up consuming about an hour's worth of... so if anyone wants to talk about Benfica players, I'm more than qualified at the moment.
Oh, okay. A big night for sporting, though, I think, tomorrow night. Off to Madrid, I believe. And a great result against PSG last week. But let's not get too sort of partisan on the pitch, as it were, and bring it back to real estate here. It's a great pleasure to be talking to Ayres Neto of the agency. So let's give him a nice big round of applause and bring him onto the screen to join us. Let's sandwich in between us, shall we, on the screen. Ayres, good evening to you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Fantastic. Very nice to be here. I'm glad you guys invited me. This is an amazing podcast, YouTube, whatever you want to call that. But it's I enjoy what you guys been doing for a while. So it's a pleasure to be here.
Oh, thank you. Glad to hear you're a fan.
It says on the screen now, we switched from industry news to featured agent. You are much more than an agent, aren't you? You're the managing partner of the agency. So it'll be great to spend some time with you tonight and find out more about the agency. But let's find out about the man, Ayres Neto, how you got into real estate and how you got to be in this position in the first place. Where did it all begin for you?
Yes. So, I mean, I lived 20 years in the U.S. I moved from Brazil. My family's Portuguese. My father was Portuguese. But I moved to the U.S. when I was like, about 28 years ago, actually. I work in corporate America in several jobs there, business development, commercial enterprises and other things. When I moved to Portugal, I decided to go into real estate 9 years ago. I always had this passion for real estate. I come also from a family of architects, three of my sisters are architects. My grandpa was an architect. So I always had this passion for, architecture, history, and that combines both very well with real estate. So it was an easy decision moving to Portugal to starting real estate here. I had experience also as an investor in the US. So putting all that combined, real estate was an easy choice in Portugal. So I started working here. I noticed, the difference between the American real estate market and Portuguese real estate market. So I start, diving into that.
Well, there is quite a marked difference, it has to be said, right? And a lot of people find that a bit of a shock. How would you characterize the big differences between the US real estate market and Portugal?
I think, the lack of MLS, the lack of some sort of, let's say, academic, preparation for agents in general, like you have in the US. You need to, get licensed, you need to train, you need to study, you need to understand basic things about real estate, about architecture, about, construction, all that, that's how it goes in the US. And here in Portugal, there's no training, basically. The company hires you. I'm, as a managing partner, I'm responsible for the 100 agents that work with me. They're not licensed. Okay, I am licensed, and they work under me. So I think that's the major difference, And if you buy properties in Portugal, you need to find a reliable agent to work, with. What we do in our brokerage, we do intense training. They learn, all the good practices that the agents has all over the globe, in order to be prepared to help clients that move to Portugal or that want to sell their property in Portugal. Okay.
Yeah, because I was about to say, we have, I remember looking online on the agency, we have our own little online university, don't we? We had loads of videos and little scriptures that help us out.
100%. The agency is a global company that truly has a global approach in how to deal with clients worldwide. So we have the agency university, we do in-house training. We normally, the way the Agency Portugal is established, we have teams, and every team, has a team leader and then a bunch of agents, and we're always trying to keep that, information flow going from top to bottom to make sure the agents are, well aware of anything that related to real estate in Portugal. Okay.
Very good. What is the vision for the agency in Portugal? Because we were talking about the difference between the US and Portugal, and it's pretty stark, isn't it? It's quite the contrast between the two ways the industries work in the respective countries. And that presents probably a really good opportunity, doesn't it, for anybody who wants to do real estate in a different way here in Portugal. Is that how the agency are positioned? And what else would you say in regard to the vision of the company as you operate here in Portugal now?
Okay, and I'm going to go back a little bit to when I started in real estate, so to explain where we are right now. I want to explain the past. So when I moved here to Portugal, I noticed that gigantic difference between real estate in the US and real estate in Portugal. And I started building my career, learning the trade from, I had my excellent mentors. But I understood that something had to be done to do it, in a more comprehensive way, in a way that I could, help clients moving from abroad. So I built my own team. I built a very multicultural team. When I started, I have 6 agents work with me, one from Germany, one from Italy, one from the UK, one from the US, Brazilian, and French. And I said, if the buyers are, almost, 80% of the buyers come from abroad when it comes to luxury. That's the segment that I dedicate myself to. I need to build a multicultural team. So that's how I did it. Okay, to make it easier for a British citizen that wants to move to Portugal to understand, help by someone who actually has done that transition before. The same thing with someone moving to the US or Canada or Brazil or France or Netherlands, Germany. That was the way we built, prior to the agency, truth of the matter. So when I came to the agency, exactly, it will be 3 years ago on February 7th, I said, I need to expand that. So I started the agency 3 years ago with 15 agents from 6 countries back in the day. To now we will have 100 agents from 32 different countries that speak 21 languages. Why?
Amazing.
Because there's buyers from all over the world, and we need to make sure we help these people transition into life. Not just real estate, but you're talking about healthcare professionals. What's the best schools? What's the best, like, I want to play golf. Where should I play golf? So our agents are, basically trained to help anyone in any way possible that it's moving to the US, to Portugal.
That's quite amazing. Could you repeat those stats? 32 countries and how many languages?
21 different languages.
That's amazing.
We have agents that speak 5, 6 languages, so it's not that hard to reach 21. I myself speak 4, so.
Yes, incredible. And the vision then for the agency going forward, we get a
The
sense of
depending on that. I mean, in the end, this is a business about guiding people, helping people. Whether you're selling a house or you're buying a house, you need guidance, you need help. Okay. So we offer, we do have a legal department, we have a process department. I have 13 people that work in my office to make sure that everything we do is legal, it abides rules and regulations of Portugal, to make sure that our clients don't get scammed, our clients don't get any sort of trouble. Because when you buy properties abroad in a country that you never lived with, you're not familiar with, like, the legislation, you're not familiar with the process. I'll give an example here. In the US, it's very common. It's not very common. It's almost like the law of the land. When a buyer buys something from a seller, that goes into an escrow account if you have a deposit. Okay. In Portugal, that doesn't happen, and that's one of the first things that scares Americans to death. So, like, am I giving my money to the seller? What if this guy just runs away and goes to Australia? And it's not that way. Why? Because there's a federal law that prevents that from happening. If you walk away with someone's deposit, you have to pay double.
Yep.
Okay. And they can put a lien in your property. So you end not selling your property and you have to pay double to whoever bought from you. So that prevents issues from happening. In my experience here, 9 years of real estate, I never seen any seller trying to walk away with the buyer's, let's say CPCV, that's how we call promissory contract deposit. So, but I understand that's very complicated for someone that comes from the US. Okay.
Sure. They might suspect the worst. In not understanding, they may suspect the worst. So you're there to put their mind at rest.
Yeah,
and that's why the real estate agent is fundamental part of this process.
Yeah.
If you don't mind me jumping in here as well, since we are talking about the back office, one thing I have noticed is that before I joined the agency, for context, I was working for a different real estate agency. I'm not going to name which one because I don't want to tarnish their reputation. But one thing I have noticed is that the back office team is superb here at the agency. I've bothered them countless times, even outside of office hours, with the most ridiculous questions at times, and they've always answered. Even at 11 o'clock in the evening, I always get an answer.
Ben, I'm really glad to hear that, and that's something that we work a lot to get to that level, because it's fundamental. I mean, like I can't really help someone that's moving to Portugal if I don't have all the paperwork, everything scrutinized to a level that I can tell, okay, this is a property that you actually can buy, sir. So you can put your money here. You can trust this process here, because there's a lot of, let's say, complicated things in Portugal. It's different. We don't have an MLS here like in the US. You don't have a history in terms of prices of this property 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago. Even the process of like inspecting a property, we do have people that work on that to make sure that, you know, the buyer is safe.
Yeah, wonderful. I think going above and beyond, highly professional, attention to detail. These are some of the key words and descriptions of the agency as differentiators from the existing market. How else would you say the agency is different to other companies and the way the industry works here in Portugal, Ayres?
I think also in the process that, you know, the kind of people that we hire, we're very selective. Okay, I don't intend to have 1,000 agents, 5,000 agents. Numbers, quantity is not necessarily quality. We do have a lot of expats that work with us, you know, myself included. You know, I live in different countries, but I would say that 70 to 75% of my staff live in multiple countries. So they've been in that situation where you have to move to a different country. How do you deal with the school, the kid's school, or the, you know, the hospital, or someone has a special need or whatever. They use that process, and it's very important for me in a country like Portugal, which is a destination country from, you know, thousands and thousands of people that come from the UK, the US, Canada, Northern Europe, Brazil. It's fundamental that the real estate agents understand that this is it's not just selling a house and walking away. A client that is happy, he's going to recommend other people. A client that is happy will eventually sell this house in 3 years and buy another house from you. So this is all part of the process. So attention to the client, attention to detail, it's paramount. You can't, I really don't understand how people do not do that way in other brokerages.
Yeah, in a way, working like a buyer's agent rather than just getting your listing and sort of stacking it high and selling it cheap. This is real attention to detail and really getting to know the client. I'd like to know a little bit more, if I may, about how you see the market, just broadening things a little bit, and the bigger picture of where Portugal is placed in the world in real estate terms, and the future you see for this incredible, fast-growing, somewhat controversial market. You know, depending on who you speak to. How are you seeing the real estate industry market as we go into 2026?
I think it's still supply does not you know, meet demand yet, hasn't met yet, and it won't in the next 2 years at least. That's the reason prices keep going up. That's the reason it's still a great you know, let's say, opportunity for someone as an investor to buy in Portugal. Why? Portugal is a country of 10 million people. Okay. Who are the buyers that come here? The Brits, 65, 70 million Brits. Am I right? You know, ballpark. US, 330 million. Then you have Brazil, 220 million. Just that's 600 million people. If a fraction of a fraction of a fraction decides to move to Portugal, and every year there's thousands of Brazilians coming, thousands of, you know, Americans coming, Canadians and Brits, plus Northern Europe, obviously supply does not, you know, meet demand. So prices keep going up. It's a very basic economic principle. If you look at Cascais right now, what's being built, if you look at Lisbon, what's being built, if you go to Porto, what's being built, even Algarve, everywhere, you know, there's a lot of construction. But this construction will be ready in maybe 2 years, 3 years.
Yeah.
And God knows what's going to happen in the next 2 years, because the demand just keep going up.
Yes, indeed. Yeah.
Yeah, we were kind of talking about it backstage as well, how there is a lot of international demand, and probably because Portugal's consecutively ranked as the first or second best place in the world to retire to as well.
Yeah, for very basic reasons, Ben. I'll give you one here. Portugal is, if I'm not mistaken, 6th in the world in EPI, English Proficiency Index. So you guys live here, okay? You can go to the supermarket and you get by in English. You can go to the pharmacy, you get by in English. You can go to most places if you are in the big towns. And most people, you know, say 45 or younger, will speak English to a, you know, decent degree. You go to our neighbor countries here, sometimes Spain and Italy and France and other countries here in Southern Europe, and it's not the same. If I'm not mistaken, Spain is 39th in the same list that Portugal is 6th. Spain is 39th. So it makes a difference. I remember one of my first international clients, this is like 2017 maybe or something like that, and it was a Scandinavian couple. He was from Norway, she was from Denmark. And they tried to live in Spain for a while, and they said it's impossible. I mean, we don't speak Spanish, so we're constantly running into trouble on how to explain things at the pharmacy, at the supermarket, and this and that directions. Everything is complicated for them. So they moved to Portugal, and I actually sold a house for them in 2018, and another one in 2023. They moved. So it's a major difference. There's a lot of things that are different in Portugal. Quality of life, prices, still more affordable than the US in general or the UK. But I think that the fact that the population actually speaks English is a major factor in all this.
Oh, definitely, it's drilled into you from a kind of young age. I still remember going to school, and as someone who was born in the UK, speaks English at home fluently. We'd always have each year English class, but drilled into us, and I just get so bored. Personally, I'll just get so bored in there because I know this stuff already.
Yeah, an amazing place to come, no question about that. And perhaps we don't dwell on that enough because we take it for granted. Going to the controversy of the foreigners putting the prices up in Portugal. It's always an interesting topic. And I was chatting to the agency's Christopher Kirby-Higgs about this. And we did a little teaser on the percentages of Portuguese and foreign buyers, which is really surprising. This is on the buying side. Actually, of the market, 95% of the purchases were Portuguese and 5% were foreigners. So on that maths of that, it can't be the foreigners just putting the prices up. And when there's a sale, that's most likely a Portuguese person selling. What do you say about these numbers, Ayres?
Okay. There's also, you need to consider which segment we're working with. Okay, if you work mass market, low end, it's always going to be Portuguese, or let's say most of the cases will be Portuguese. If you work luxury, which is $1 million or above, which is this, our main segment. Not that we sell everything. We sell 300, 400, 500, 600. We sell everything, but the agency is a luxury brokerage, so we work the market over $1 million. And this market is very highly influenced by foreign buyers. When it comes to sellers, a lot of them are Portuguese. It's like a puzzle. Okay, so sellers in general are Portuguese, but Portuguese sellers will become buyers. Okay, they sometimes sell a house for $2 million in Cascais and then buy 4 units of 500,000 elsewhere because it's a good investment. When you sell developments, okay, which pretty much are being built everywhere in this country because supply is high, the buyers are normally Portuguese because they know they buy something now that it's going to be ready 1.5 years or 2 years from now. They know the developer, and they know if they buy right now for 500,000, they might sell that 2 years from now when it's ready for 750 or 800 or 900. It happens all the time. So when you sell development and you have 100 units to sell, I would say sometimes 90% of them are Portuguese buyers because they know the market and they know how to invest and where to invest, which a good real estate agent can also help with that. When it comes to international buyers, are they let's say making prices go up? Yes, when it comes to luxury market, okay, but when it comes to mid market to low market, it's actually the Portuguese ones. Because why? They sell stuff more expensive and they buy stuff less expensive, and they keep going, they keep the wheel going. However, I also would like to talk about what we had here in 2011, 2012, 2013, the Troika years, where the city of Lisbon was completely, destroyed almost. A lot of buildings, decrepit, in horrible stage, roofs falling on the head of, people. And what happened in the last 12 years is the city got renewed, not just Lisbon. We're talking about Porto as well, Cascais, a lot of construction in Portugal. First of all, it was built in the last 10, 12 years. Not enough, but it was built in the last 10, 12 years. And a lot of buildings got rehabilitated. historical buildings, amazing buildings. So if you go to the beautiful Lisbon now, that everyone wants to go and take Instagram pictures and look at this and that, go back in time 13 years to see how it was with graffiti and this and that. So I really don't like when people portray, okay, the foreigners are the enemy. That's not the case. Every one of you, every one of us in reality, we're spending money here, we're paying taxes here, we're making the economy will go round, and it's very important for Portuguese economy. This money that comes from international buyers here is a fundamental thing to help Portuguese economy. The same way tourism is very important, and those things go side by side. The reason Portugal is so popular right now is because during years Portugal was a very popular touristic destination. So people start looking and said, "Well, why I'm living right now in Oslo is a great city. Why I'm living in Oslo, it's -10, if I could be in Portugal and it's actually 15, 20 degrees." So it's normal what happened in the or right now we have someone from Chicago. I mean, Chicago. I lived in Boston for 10 years, so I imagine the weather in Chicago right now. If they were here today, is like 14 degrees. So in Fahrenheit, if I'm not mistaken, that would be 60. So it's much better 60 than 25 Fahrenheit. Okay?
I imagine it is cold in Chicago tonight. Good evening to you, World Traveller 161. Thank you, Ayres, for addressing that directly. And people don't often want to do that because it's a difficult sort of political issue, but we do have to go beyond the political cherry picking with this matter, and it's much bigger than the sort of the lightning rod issues that it tends to sort of boil down to. Thank you for looking at that and taking us there and having that conversation. Much appreciated. So I can take it you're sort of generally buoyant then about the future for the agency, for real estate here in Portugal. It's going to be an exciting time, certainly for the next couple of years, as I think you said there.
Yes, I think so, and I think Portugal needs that. I think international buyers are safe in Portugal. It's like Ben said, it's a phenomenal country in many different ways, and we're here to help and host and treat people well, and make sure that they adjust to life in Portugal the best way possible. And selling is not the end goal. The end goal is to help someone. Selling is a consequence of helping someone, and then you keep going in the right direction.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well said. Well said. We're going to conclude now. I really thank you for being here, but I just want to ask you about the horse riding. Oh, and also to say thank you to Hugh, Mary, Marv, Lee, and Mike, who've been with us on the show and watching this evening. I notice from your biography, are you a horse rider and a horse breeder as well?
Yes, I mean, horse is my passion. I love horses.
Really?
Yes, it's a phenomenal animal. I could go like 3 hours talking about, or maybe 30 hours talking about horses. Yeah, how important?
3 minutes would be good.
Yeah, how important horses are for human civilization. Without horses, you wouldn't be able to travel 500, 600, 700 miles. Thousands of years ago to find something that you needed to trade. And trade is we're talking about multicultural people here, multicultural, group that I have. And horses are part of that because horses connected people back in the day, thousands of years ago. And I love the animal. I mean, I'm a horse and dog guy. How horses in the end are big dogs, like they love you. They remember you. You might say, yeah, I'm not kidding. I've
not heard that description before.
Yes, it's a big dog, like I have my horse farm in Brazil. And I go there 3, 4, 5 times per year. And I can tell every single one of my horses, knows me. And they kind of have a special way to kind of interact with me. So I think, horses, are absolutely an extraordinary animal. Okay.
And what is Portugal like as a place to own and enjoy horses? I know someone who's come from Texas. They brought their horses with them. We have the amazing Golgal Horse Festival, don't we, every year, and others.
Yes.
That's just one of many across Portugal. It looks to me like it's quite quiet in terms of the equestrian hobby and fan base, if you like. But it's out there, isn't it? This does look like a good country to be a horse owner.
It is out there. That's the first time in many dozens, maybe hundreds of places that I spoke that anyone asked me that question. And I think Portugal is a phenomenal country to have horses because
Yeah.
the interior is very inexpensive. Okay, if you go to the interior, the weather is great. If you
Yeah.
want to bring other breeds here, like a quarter horse or whatever you want to do, I mean, obviously you can bring your horses here, but they also have Lusitanos here, which is a phenomenal breed. Okay, I mean, our neighbor here in Spain has great horses as well, and it's compared to the U.S. a lot less expensive. Maintenance, costs and everything related, and you have pretty much year round an opportunity to ride and enjoy your passion. Even for people that want to have like horse farms here and breed and do things like that, I think it's a great opportunity, and
Very
it's kind of
interesting.
untapped market, to be honest.
Yeah, it struck me that was the case. I said to my wife the other day, as we were driving through this terrible rain that we've had over the last few days, and it's taking up the road, I was thinking, horse ownership might come back. People might be, with the way the rain takes up the tarmac, horses are much better suited to the sort of weather we've got going on at the moment. So yeah, what an amazing country to think about coming to if you're a horse owner and you're looking for an alternative. Ben, any more questions for Ayres before we say goodnight?
Not necessarily a question, no, but if you don't mind me taking the conversation back to when we were talking about the adversity of real estate in Portugal and why people have this conception that buyers are inflating the price as well. Everything that Ayres said is, of course, 100% true. There's data to back this up as well. When you look at the above million mark here in Portugal, 90% of are foreign buyers. The controversy for me, though, personally, when it comes to speaking about this, is not necessarily in the sale of the current houses, is that Portugal it's estimated that Portugal lacks about 200,000 houses, and that currently in the private sector there is no reason, no incentive to build houses at an affordable rate for the Portuguese. Right. Yeah. That's where I think the controversy comes into this, and that's out of our hands, unfortunately. I mean, the recent housing package proposed by the government helps. It's not 100% of the way there with the reduction on IVA, but it's a step forward.
That's actually it's a government issue. Okay, so if you think about, I mean, I'll give an example here of my birth country, Brazil. In Brazil, if you build luxury, you're obligated to build affordable housing. It goes side by side. So if you build a Lagerfeld Tower, you have to build affordable housing up to 200,000. For common people, normal people. Okay.
Yeah.
The same thing could be done in Portugal. Like, there's
a
lot of luxury construction here. So if you want to give a license for luxury construction, okay, you need to build, let's say you're building 100 units here and it's, this amazing condominium XYZ brand. Okay, you need to build 100, affordable housing here. That will be, the folks that are getting married, the younger folks of Portugal could afford those houses. Okay, so it needs to go side by side, but this is government policy. Okay, and it needs to be done urgently, because you can't have people that don't, they stay with their parents until 30 because they have no place to go. Rentals in Portugal are very expensive. So if you look at stats on rentals, that's another misconception. The rent are too expensive for Portuguese people. Portuguese people in general don't rent. Okay, I have a broker here for many years. It's very rare you get a rental done by a Portuguese person. Portugal has almost 80% home ownership. 80%. Germany has 53 or 54, if I'm not mistaken. So what happens in Portugal? If you can't buy a house, you stay with your parents, you kind of try to get some money. So once you have 20, 30,000 with you, you go and put that as a down payment, and then you buy your own property. You're not going to rent something for 1,500, 1,800, 2,000 because wages are low and people can do that. So the way you have to solve that, the way you have to solve the problem is build more affordable housing for people.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of land. This country, 90% of the population lives, 50 miles from the ocean. So you need to build affordable housing for them.
It's very interesting, Ayres. For every happy new foreign buyer here, who's really delighted by the quality and the value and the lifestyle, there might be an angry person who's making a political point of it. There's probably a very happy Portuguese seller somewhere keeping quiet behind that picture, and there's an embarrassed politician who isn't building the affordable housing that you're talking about. So it's great that we've addressed that tonight, and let's keep doing that and keep banging the drum for affordable housing in this country for people.
fantastic. I think we all should work with that.
Yep. Thank you very much
100%.
for being here with us tonight. Find Ayres Neto and the agency at theagencyre.com. I shall put that onto the screen so that you can see that. Thanks again for being here. Thanks for everybody who tuned in. Thank you very much, Ben Austin, as well. And we'll be back again, I think, in 2 weeks' time, because we've got the Portugal wine.
We've got the wine club next week, don't we? Yes.
Cheers, Ayres. All the best to you. Thanks, everybody. Take care and bye for now.